Welcome back. We're here to look ahead to Saturday lunchtime's game in the Premier League between Manchester United and Newcastle United. Barnes, you watched United's Champions League qualifier against Club Brugge. What did you think?
Yeah, it was a really good performance from them, especially after the two 1-0 wins, which it's a winning start to the Premier League, but not entirely encouraging start for them. They didn't perform too well in either of those games, but against Club Brugge it was a much better performance. It was seen as probably the easiest tie for them. Club Brugge, quite a kind draw in the Champions League qualifying, considering the teams they could have had, but Club Brugge played really well in that game. They only had one shot on target. The statistics were all heavily in United's favour, but it wasn't as one-sided as suggested. Having said that, United did play well. Depay was the standout player. He was superb, 2 goals. Chris Smalling had a really good game, which is really encouraging for them because he started the season superbly well, and considering they're considered a bit light at the back, that's a really good positive for them. So a lot of positive signs to take out of that game. It was a very good performance and a good way to get Champions League football back to Old Trafford.
Yeah, you mentioned Smalling there. He started the season well, like you say. Him and Blind at centre-back. You talked about the 2 1-0 wins in the Premier League. They, like you say, they haven't been that convincing, but it's a winning start, no goals conceded, and the best teams do always tend to be built on a good defence, and United certainly seem to have a very strong defence. Blind is marshalling the defence well, and Smalling there, Darmian's had a great start, and I mean, Depay, he'd been very quiet in those opening 2 Premier League games, hadn't he? But he really came to the fore last night. You think that he's going to carry that on now. You expect Rooney to start having better games. He hasn't been doing much in the Premier League either. So I think the signs do look pretty good, and if they can keep that defensive stability, then they should be able to build on that.
Yeah, last season the big thing about United was they seemed a bit top-heavy with all the attacking talent they had and not much at the back apart from De Gea. Obviously De Gea, the saga's still going on around him. We don't know if he's going to start, if he's going to stay at the club beyond the end of the transfer window. He hasn't played a match for the club yet this season. Romero's in goal. He looked a bit shaky at times against Club Brugge. There was one back pass which he completely misjudged and was very lucky to get a free kick from that when Club Brugge could have equalised at that point. They've also missed out on the likes of Pedro now, it looks like, to Chelsea. That's a big blow for them because Pedro, Depay and Rooney, that's a really good front three. That would have given any defence in the world problems, yet alone just in the Premier League. So that's a big blow for them, and missing out on Otamendi as well. You mentioned centre-back Smalling and Blind. They've done a really good job so far, but Otamendi is probably a step up. Blind's not a natural centre-back. Otamendi would have been a natural fit in there, you feel. It would have been a really good signing for them. So transfer window-wise, everything's not going as they were planned, but so far 3 wins out of 3 is a good start for them.
Yeah, so I think, especially losing those targets like Otamendi and Pedro to their main title rivals, Chelsea and City, it's just an even bigger blow. But moving on to Newcastle, they're still looking for their first win of the season. They started the season at home to Southampton. That was a tough game for them. 2-all draw there. I thought that was an okay start, and then they go to Swansea last week, and I think that is always going to be a difficult game. Swansea, they had that great start. They played really well at Chelsea to get a draw on the opening day, and then Newcastle go there and they have discipline problems. Janmaat gets sent off, and 2 silly bookings. There's just no need for him to do that. I think there's a bit of a problem discipline-wise. Mitrovic has come on and got booked. Within minutes of coming on in both of his games so far, so he needs to sort that out. They're now missing Janmaat here, and if Mitrovic keeps struggling to sort of get himself in the game, they need goals from him. So not being able to score at Swansea, it's always going to be a tough game, but it's certainly not the ideal start, and it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah, it hasn't been a great start for McLaren. As you said, it has been a very tough start for them. 2-all draw against Southampton, considering how well Southampton did last season, didn't look like the worst result, but then Southampton going to lose 3-0 at home to Everton. Perhaps they may not be the force they were last season. It's too early to say that, but Newcastle, they've got 4 of the big boys in the next 6 games. I think they've got Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United in this match in 4 of their next 6 games. So it's hard to see where they're going to pick up too many points from. The 1 point from their opening 2 games, they perhaps would have hoped for more than that, but Southampton and Swansea, as you say, not an easy start at all. I think they've got Watford coming up at home, which is probably the first match they can really think we're going to get a win here, so it's a difficult start for McLaren for sure.
There'll certainly be a lot of pressure on that Watford game. Say if they lose here and they're sort of down near the bottom of the table, and if there's all that pressure, and if Watford go there, if they've had a couple of wins, they might feel a bit more free, and that could be a really pressurised game. And if they get to the end of this tough run and say they've only won 1 game out of 8 at the start of the season, there'll be a lot of pressure on Steve McLaren at that stage, and this is a really difficult game for them. What's your score prediction?
I can't see them getting anything out of this one. United, as we say, they haven't been too convincing in the Premier League so far, but they always seem to turn up against Newcastle. They've got a fantastic record against them, especially at Old Trafford, so I'm predicting quite a comfortable United win. I'll probably go 3-0.
3-0, yeah, I think you have to back United here, especially after that performance from Memphis. You really start to shine there, and Rooney's got a brilliant record against Newcastle. I think I saw he's scored 12 and assisted 7 in his last 20 games against Newcastle, so he's got a great record. He might be looking for a goal here, so I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to United. So both picking United to win this one fairly comfortably. Thanks for joining us.